Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Oh, why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Oh, all of it's all done.
All right, welcome back to the Fake Friends Podcast, episode 21. We are the coolest hosts on the planet of any podcast. That is undeniable. Yep.
Yeah, doesn't get much cooler.
Alive. Here we are, live in living color. What up?
Hey, man, it's been a minute. I'd say that we're back, but that would mean that we left and we never left. So, we're just here again.
Take a necessary breather.
Yeah.
How's my audio sound? Do I sound okay?
Yeah, it does. Sounds clean.
Sounds clean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No weird tube feed, right? You don't hear that, huh?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm just like calling you an engineer.
Yeah, just call me the engineer, just the engineer. I know. I'm about to make my IG public, dude, and just put that in my
You should. Just put it in your,
about to become a business IG. Speaking of which, dude, this episode we're talking about whatever the fuck we want because that's our podcast. We just talk
per usual.
So I just wanted to buy, for no reason, a fantasy baseball magazine. I mean, I already know everything anyways, but when I first processed it, it was like, oops. So I was like, oh, I'll go back and just resubmit it. And then I did. And then I ended up buying it twice. So now I got to buy
it twice?
Yep. So I got to
Well, just shoot it to me. I'll give you the money for it.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I try canceling it, but yeah, we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, if you get two, just ship it this way.
I will, dude. I will. I'm fired up, dude. It's fucking baseball season. It's February 3rd. It's baseball season. So
yeah, what pitchers and catchers should be there in a couple of weeks once they hash out their contracts and let the ink dry. Once they figure it out, they should figure it out soon though.
Yeah, they need to figure that shit out ASAP before I fight everyone because there cannot be a delay to the baseball season, especially when you had 2020. You had 2020 with the delay because of politics. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
And they need to start it up. Everyone benefits with a on-time baseball season. Everyone, owners, players, fans, everyone benefits.
It's always yeah. It's
figure it out.
It's good.
I don't know the reality of the situation depending on how late it goes. Because personally, I don't think players need spring training. I just think pitchers do. If you're a major league baseball player and you think you need at-bats to play baseball before your season starts, fight me. Because you played baseball your whole life. Go see a pitch, step in the box, take a pitch, and get your timing down, okay? You played at that level.
So I was going to say.
Do you need to see a fucking fastball to know you need to hit a fastball? It's a mental thing.
I won't say don't need. Definitely pitchers. Pitchers definitely need spring training.
Pitchers, 100%.
And position players. But I'll tell you this. If you were doing what you were supposed to be doing, if you were in the playoffs and you were playing through September, early part of October, is it? If you were in the playoffs, you took about a month off and you started working out in November, December, January. If you were in the playoffs, you was getting your reps in, you was getting work in October, November, December, and January. Spring training is really just to see, if you're in shape. And yeah, for hitters, you might get some timing down, but realistically, you're not getting that timing down until a month into the season anyways. It's really for pitchers. And again, you just hoping from a position player standpoint, you're just hoping that you're like physically ready to go. I do think it's a nice little warm-up period because if you just, jump right out there, roll out the bed when the stats count, whether you're ready or not physically, or if it's taking you 2 months to get your timing down, that's a hole that can be hard to climb out of when it counts. So I get it, but you're right. I mean, there's just a mentality also that you have where you just show up and you're like, I'm ready to go. And most of the guys have it. Trust me, there's a common theme, especially amongst position players. Nobody likes spring training in terms of how long it is. You go, you're there for a week, you're happy to see everybody, you get it going, and then you're like, all right, can the season start? And you still got 3 weeks left of spring training.
So hear me out.
Spring training is like a month too long. And you know how long spring training is? A month.
You're going to agree with me on this. Now, I'm only speaking for position players. First, before I get into what they should do, I do think it's great for, players in the system to get an opportunity to be seen. But
yeah, but everybody, not to cut you off, everybody knows where they're going prior to spring training. Like
so
there's no teams being made. Like, unless somebody gets hurt, nobody's going there. And it's not a tryout for anybody in the system. Like, you know where you're going prior to. You know what's happening.
So
the individual players might not, but the organization does already. So
you take besides pitchers, they can be on their own fucking program because, whatever. But as far as position players goes, it's 3 weeks. The first week is them just showing up, doing their drills, taking pictures for the fans, taking BP, walking around, doing their baseball thing. The second and third week are all games. Play every day. You play about 10 games. That's it. Done. No more. You don't need any more. You really don't.
It's too long. I'm telling you, it's too long. I would give spring training a full 14 days. Right now, it's a good 28 maybe.
It's crazy.
Well, pitchers and catchers, it's a little longer. I mean, imagine being a catcher. Like, you're in spring training for a month and a half. Now, granted, from a player standpoint, like, it's cool location-wise. If you're in Arizona at that time, great time to be in Arizona. If you're in Florida at that time, I don't know when it's a not good time to be in Florida, but it's very redundant because the games don't matter. And once you physically feel ready to go, you're like, I'm ready to start the season.
Yeah.
I will say that I think also the reason that you have spring training, like, you can't start playing. You can't start a regular season in Boston, Chicago, Detroit in March.
No, the season should start in fucking.
It can't happen.
The season should start like April 25th.
That's what I mean. Like, and with that, you can push spring training back, have pitchers and catchers report in March, have them go for 2 weeks, have position players show up 2 weeks prior to, get them going. But I don't know, man. Baseball is probably the most traditional sport on the planet right now, and some things just aren't going to change until, if ever, because I think people that get in positions that make change come from also traditional backgrounds and they want to maintain tradition, unless, of course, this whole progressive, movement with other people fulfilling roles. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, that's a good segue into, real quick before we switch topics regarding baseball, we're definitely, after I read my fucking dude, what don't we know about baseball? I don't need a fucking magazine to tell me what it is, though. It is good for like sleepers, that people you might not be thinking about, especially when it comes to like pitching prospects, guys that,
pitchers
can't watch every game. No matter how much baseball you watch, can't watch every game. So it's going to be cool to check that out. We'll definitely do a discussion about it. But yeah, speaking about people stuck in their old ways, everyone that needs an ass whooping in baseball, the writers who are just out of touch with reality. Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame. Obviously Roger Clemens, but Barry Bonds. It's just
it's work. So all right, look, man. The guy is like, usually they say arguably. The guy's not even arguably the best. He is the best power hitter of all time. There is no better hitter than Barry Bonds, and there's no more feared hitter than Barry Bonds. Like, he is the guy. And if you were going to put him into the Hall, how they're like, well, with certain players, they're like, well, he's not going to go in this class. He'll go in this class with this, I guess, based on just like who they go in. Well, David Ortiz goes into the Hall on his first ballot, top for PEDs, and you're not gonna put Barry Bonds in there. Who do you think David Ortiz looked up to?
David Ortiz, and don't get me wrong.
I will tell you.
I've been a Red Sox fan my whole life. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I understand how the perception of him is a first ballot. Like, he's had magical moments in the postseason. He's had, and at one point, he's a fear hitter also. Pitchers did pitch to him. Pitchers pitched around him. He was dangerous. He's also a likable guy. And that's really all I think that solidified, is that if you're likable and you perform for a stretch of 5 to 10 years, you probably get into the Hall of Fame in the big leagues. Same thing's going to happen with Buster Posey. We already talked about that. He's going to be a first ballot just because everybody likes him.
Yeah. I will give Buster, though, at least he has an MVP over Ortiz. David Ortiz has no fucking accolades.
Yeah, that's true. Other than rings.
Other than
I think
rings.
doesn't he have some postseason MVPs? I think he has some postseason MVPs.
And I'm not hating on his ability to be a threat at the plate. He really was. And when him and Ramirez were going, those were the two
Dangerous.
back-to-back hitters in the league for a few years going for a stretch. So I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. Without a doubt, he belongs there. There's no question. I'm saying first ballot Hall of Famer is a fucking joke with no MVP awards.
It's a joke when Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame.
And then Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame.
It's a joke when they're on that same ballot. David Ortiz goes in and Bonds doesn't. That is a joke.
So that's why it's a joke. And I love Bonds.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I love him.
Now I will say he doesn't have the accolades, but he does have like over 500 home runs. And again, we're not even at, I think, 30 people with that feat. Like that's not easy.
He's a Hall of Famer.
That's not an easy. Yeah, that's not an easy.
Not a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer,
but if he's a Hall of Famer, then Barry Bonds is undoubtedly a Hall of Famer.
You play one side of the ball and you never won an MVP. You're not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Miguel Cabrera, if he was only a DH, Miguel Cabrera is a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's just
easily.
So I'm just sitting here like, well, if you're gonna have tiers of the Hall of Fame based on what guys get into show, like based on how their careers work, like you put David Ortiz in because, dude, I'm telling you, they just didn't want back-to-back years with no one getting in. Because didn't no one get in last year too? Or maybe it's just a joke.
I don't think they did. I don't think they had the ceremony.
Right. I don't know, dude. All I know is Joe Mauer is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That motherfucker doesn't deserve to tie a Hall of Famer's shoes. He doesn't even belong in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
They're going to fucking put him right in. They'll be like, he never struck out in high school.
He is.
Joe Mauer.
He is.
Minnesota's own. Yeah, fuck you.
I think, honestly, again, and what's crazy is at one point, like if you ask people 5 years ago, definitely the other side of the coin would be, no, he can't go into the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds cheated. Roger Clemens cheated. And the tone of that conversation is just completely altered because I think more people have woken up and realized that performance enhancement drugs, however you want to look at it, I don't personally consider it cheating when it comes to playing baseball. I understand it enhances your physical recovery time and physical ability, but it doesn't enhance your ability to hit a ball. It doesn't enhance your ability to throw a strike. It might enhance your ability to technically hit a ball harder, maybe. But like you were already doing that, it doesn't enhance your ability, to really actually compete, I think, at the highest level. And if you're going to have some integrity with it, then you got to hold that integrity across the board. Those managers shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame who won rings with players who took steroids. Other players like David Ortiz, who was popped for taking steroids, shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And I think it's just a matter of like what this illuminated is that people just didn't like, writers, I guess, didn't like Barry Bonds. Like imagine if the players voted on who was in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, dude, it'd be so much different.
Imagine if your peers, because realistically, shouldn't that be the determining factor of the greatest of all time is like amongst your peers? Like there's one, all right. I remember in Little League, there was one thing that like my Little League had figured out was the first, it was like first number of all-stars for our Little League were voted on by your fellow players. And there was no argument with that. Because, in Little League, you have like politics with parents and like, I want my kid on the all-star team. I'm going to coach the all-star team, et cetera, et cetera. And so like one thing our Little League did was they kind of avoided that by having the players vote, I think, for the first like 5 or something kids for the all-star team. And that way it was undoubtedly who everyone thought were the best players amongst the league. Imagine if that was at the highest level.
Right.
Just imagine. Because your peers are gonna respect you based on what you do on the field. They don't give a damn if you're an asshole. They don't give a damn if you talk to reporters, answer reporters' questions how you want to answer reporters. They don't care. They're gonna respect your ability on the field. I don't see how you look at somebody like Barry Bonds' numbers, you look at somebody like Roger Clemens' numbers, their stats, what they did, and then just their impact on the game, and they're not in the Hall of Fame. So to me, that discredits the Hall of Fame because the best players don't reside there.
That's right.
I
mean, when you have, again, I'm not saying this guy wasn't a good pitcher. I'm not saying he didn't come up in big spots or have good seasons. When Mike Mussina is a Hall of Famer and Roger Clemens isn't, the best guys aren't in the Hall of Fame. You have average players, good players, not great players. Where are the great players? Where are the great players? Give us the great players. Barry Bonds had, now you could give or take a few stolen bases, but he had a 40-40 season. He had multiple 30-30s. This dude, pre-San Francisco, Hall of Famer, based on his style of play. Then you go look at his 3 to 4 year stretch from 2001 to 2003 or 4, with his amount of walks to home runs and power numbers. We'll never see it again. The guy wasn't pitched.
No, it's video game stats, bro. Video game stats.
And he never missed his pitch. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, Barry Bonds' stats for those 3-4 years is Hall of Fame worthy. If he played 10 years and only had those 3 years, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, find me another guy that has over 500 home runs and 500 stolen bases.
Dude,
find me another guy that will ever have that.
Barry Bonds, dude, it just blows my mind, the fact
I'm pretty sure the guy walked 250 times or 230 times in one season.
I think it was
that's impossible. That's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think it was 260.
That is unheard of.
Yeah, because I just looked at his stats last week. He got to the plate 613 times, but he only had 370 official plate. Fucking stupid. Dude, get me on a show. Get me on a fucking baseball show to fucking debate anyone.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. The only thing I wish was different was I wish Joe Madden was Bonds' manager at one point, so he leaded him off. So he batted him lead off. At that time, if Bonds was batting lead off, are you walking that guy every single time? No shot. No shot. The only thing I will, again, this always goes to credit. The claim that they didn't win in the postseason. I get the argument, but it's not like a quarterback. It's not like a point guard when it comes to championships where they have more control over the whole aspect of the game and can change the game. Bonds can't do anything from left field when his pitcher is getting shelled. He can't do anything from the bench when the 6, 7, 8 hitter or the 1, 2 don't get on base and he need, that's out of his control. And even if, which he did do, perform, because he was pitched around in the postseason. When they pitched to him in the postseason, he'd hit a bomb. Even if he performed in the postseason, his team's not going to win. And I think that argument kind of holds no weight when they sit here and call Mike Trout a Hall of Famer and he hasn't even sniffed a championship.
Bonds against the Angels, didn't they go 7 games? So
They went seven. And that Angel team is really good too.
He went to the dance. Yeah. And I said, Mike Trout hasn't. Mike Trout will be a Hall of Famer, believe it or not, even if, here's the thing.
First ballot. Unanimous too. He's going to be unanimous, right? And the only player, King Griffey Jr. wasn't unanimous, and I guarantee Mike Trout's going to be unanimous.
I think he will too, even if he doesn't deserve it. Because here's the thing, dude. Mike Trout, again, if he can stay healthy, he'll get to 500 home runs. He'll put up some impressive career stats. Not going to fucking deny that. But this dude is 10 years in the league. 10 years, 11 years. And he gets hurt every year. Misses a lot of games. So let's say he plays 5 to 8 more years. He's only playing 100 games a year. I don't know.
I don't see it happening. I don't even see him getting 500, to be honest with you.
I don't either. So he don't get
He's
to 500
31. He's already 31.
That's what I'm saying. So if you don't get to 500 home runs and some other career numbers with hits, RBIs, and batting average, he has no Gold Glove. So they're just going to put him in based on a few seasons and MVPs. They shouldn't put him in at first ballot. They should put him in at 3rd or 4th or whatever.
He's gonna have what? He's got 3 MVPs?
He got 3.
Yeah. Didn't Bonds have 7? Didn't Bonds have 7?
Something like that. Yeah. Bonds had
7 MVPs.
I think Clemens had 7 Cy Young.
I mean, that's almost half. He played 22 years. Bonds has 7 MVPs. Come on.
Who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, dude? Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander.
Yeah. Hands down.
You want to know why?
Hands down.
Because when you watch them play, you go, they are dominant.
They dominate. They dominate the game. And that's not to say, again, we love Mike Trout. He is a dominant player. Despite the arguments that we'll have about whether he's just allowed to dominate or not, because they pitched to him, unlike they did with Barry Bonds. But like you said, he's not even playing 140 games.
His last impressive season was the one in 2019 when he won MVP, and he didn't play like the last month.
He didn't play the last month and a half.
He was putting up some impressive.
Yeah. He probably would have hit like 50 bombs.
Yeah, he was doing some impressive fucking shit. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if he can stay healthy and have seasons like that, well, yeah, that dude's gonna be fucking.
And I'm pretty sure he was allowed to take like a growth hormone or something because of
thyroid, right?
Thyroid, something like that. Yeah. But hey, what do you know?
I don't care. I think it's great.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, and here's the thing. Like we were talking about this the other day. People act as if like players that were taking anything, performance-enhancing drugs, was a detriment to the game. Like when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were chasing a home run record, like baseball was at its livest point. Then like kids love. You played baseball because of those guys. Kids played. Who do you play? Like, why do you play baseball now? Why does a kid want to go play baseball now?
Sammy used to sprint on the field, dude.
Remember on the field?
You remember when
sprinted out with the American flag?
One of the first games after like 9/11 or some shit. He just sprinted out to the field with the American flag, and it was just
took off. Dude. Just took off, and like so you can't. I mean, I remember getting trade-in cards, and it was like a prospect that hit 60 or 50 or something. I think it was like a that card. I remember sitting in the shop with my dad, and they had like a box of players that I couldn't even name more than 3. And the only 3 that like stand out to me are Bonds. It was like Frank Thomas, somebody else. But everybody was projected to hit like 50 home runs, as if like that was the norm for like a power hitter. Now, the norm for a power hitter is like 25 to 30 bombs.
I got 2 points real quick. I know you're absolutely right about that. You know what's considered more cheating to me than taking PEDs is corking your bat.
Yeah, because that's altering. Like to me, that's altering like a tool that you use, or like substances on a ball. Like that's physically cheating.
But no, I like that 35 home run marker because, dude, getting back to like the point you made about Griffey, who should have been the first unanimous. I mean, he actually shouldn't have been the first unanimous. Like I don't know how Willie Mays wasn't. Probably skin color. Either way. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, you look at Ken Griffey Jr.'s numbers, dude. That was like Ken Griffey Jr. still might be the best baseball player of our modern time.
Absolutely, and I mean he dealt with some injuries, right? And he still hit over 60
after 2000. He dealt with a lot of nagging injuries that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at his stretch from like 89 to 2002, 2001, dude. You put him in for how he plays the game. You compare him to like the Tatises, Sotos, Acuñas. Like you take all their strengths. Griffey did that.
I look at it. I can't say. I mean, I'm not this old. I look at like Griffey as like our modern Willie Mays. There was nothing he couldn't do.
No, seriously, he really is. Like I don't like how they call Mike Trout the kid because that's supposed to be.
Yeah,
like,
that's
and then but before that you call. Who was the say hey kid, like Willie Mays.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Willie Mays was supposed to be the first 5'2" player, which I believe he was. I could assume that there would be on.
Man, you had Mantle.
Wasn't Mays before that?
No.
Yeah.
I think they were like.
Well, anyways.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Willie Mays, 5'2", Mantle, these 2 guys. Well, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Griffey Jr., he was everyone's favorite player growing up. But when you go and look at his stats and you rewatch his games when you're younger, it's hard to remember and appreciate. But this dude, between his offense, ability to put the ball in play, hit for power, swipe bags, and play Gold Glove defense, he won 10 consecutive Gold Gloves. This dude, still to this day, if you take Griffey in his prime versus any new guy or anyone in modern day baseball today, 2022, he's better than them. He's better than them. Griffey's better than them. He's better than he's better than Acuña. He's better than Soto. He's better than Betts. He's better than Trout. He's better than anyone else. And that's no disrespect to any of those modern guys like Harper, any of them, because they're all fucking future Hall of Famers in their own right too. But I just don't think Griffey gets enough attention point to that. I think Griffey, instead of being considered like he needs to be considered the greatest modern player, I think. Right now for us. You know what I mean? Like in terms of errors,
Amazing.
like error, he needs to be that icon for like, I think he does. And I know people, you can argue Bonds in that, but Bonds started playing a little bit earlier. So, but Junior had better defense. So that's why I just slightly, I know Bonds, you're going to say, obviously, he's the best hitter of all time. Can't argue that. But in terms of just overall baseball player, I think Griffey should be considered like the icon for this modern era in terms of he's the best player. Like if you
and honestly, I think anybody, kind of in our generation was saying that when you were a kid, who's your favorite player? They were naming King Griffey Jr.
Right.
When you really, it doesn't even match up. Now, granted, he did, just I wanted to put this, like there was a stretch after 2000 where he didn't play more than 90 games.
Yeah, he was hurt
for like 3 years.
Yep.
That like and he still hit 630 home runs. That's like Willie Mays going to the war.
Yeah. A lot of those players. Yeah, and that's another cool thing about a lot of those players that played back in the day. They took time off because they went to war, and it's
went to war.
You're like, first of all, they didn't know if they were coming back, and they come back, and they're still fucking around.
They're still going. They went to war. So I mean,
how was your off season? I just fucking fought in World War I, threw fucking bombs on the ground, and then fucking came back and hit some bombs, dude. Story of my life.
And you're right. Well, Mays was before Mantle. Mays was before Mantle. So like he was the first five tool
player, and it's like
and Griffey, like you said, from '89 to 2000, he was the 5-tool guy that. And the only thing, like you said, above Bonds is that Griffey was undoubtedly the best defender. There wasn't a ball that he wasn't going to get.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying from like, if you could only put 4 in a Mount Rushmore, I think Griffey has an absolute argument to have his head on there. Obviously Willie Mays. And then, again, I'm trying to stay like overall, because there were some guys that transcended offensively, transcended defensively, but like who did it all around? Because that's the part of the game. Like you look at someone like Tony Gwynn, especially when he was skinnier, but you could argue him being one of the best just pure hitters of all time, like ever. Like Tony Gwynn's coming up to the plate.
Easily.
Ball, he's putting the barrel on the ball. But the reason why you could lean more towards Bonds, because Bonds is doing the same thing and then hitting it 800 feet. You know what I mean? So, but if someone wanted to make the argument, I'm not going to sit here and be like, dude, you're wrong. Tony Gwynn fucking couldn't hit. I'm like, no, Tony Gwynn didn't strike out. And that's another thing about Bonds, dude.
He didn't get out, and neither did Bonds. That's the thing. Granted, he didn't get pitched to, but like he only struck out. He only struck out over 90 times, 3 times in his career. He played 22 years.
Yeah.
Played 22 years and he struck out over 90 times. I'm sorry, won 4 times, maybe 5 times.
You know who I think? Years. You know who I actually think is going to be the best player since we'll say going far back as like 2015 out of the young guys, that like era. I think Juan Soto is going to be the best out of all of them.
Yeah, he's a pure hero. And that's
he's gonna have a career 300 average. He's gonna get close to 3,000 hits, and he's gonna have 500 home runs.
From what I've seen and heard around, just as I keep up with the league, the peers that he plays with consider him probably the best hitter in the league right now.
You can see it
easily. You can see it, and I mean, bar injury, because that's the other thing. Durability is definitely an attribute. And,
healthy.
One of the best abilities is availability. If you're not available to play, then you can't really, doesn't really count for that. And so if you stay healthy, I can definitely see that. That's kind of one, I think, detriment to Tatis right now. I don't know how durable he is to sustain the electrifying pace that he's been on. But Juan Soto definitely has that in him to be that.
Yeah,
to be that for sure.
When I first was hearing the hype of Juan Soto, coming up, and this was awesome because he was playing with Harper. What a cool team if they could have kept those two together. But it was kind of like, here's another guy with a lot of hype, whatever. And then when I started watching, I was like, okay. I was warming up to him. I'm not gonna lie, I was a Juan Soto hater at first. I'm like, come on, what's up? Because baseball loves to hype up their prospects because they want team to look. So I was like, come on, here's another guy who's probably just going to get hot and then fizzle out. But he didn't. And then I'm telling you, dude, my whole perspective on Juan Soto changed because at first when I used to see him moving in the box, staring down pitches, kind of like, who the fuck's this guy? What's he doing? Even though that's some shit I would do and I respect it. But at first it was kind of like, dude, what are you doing? Like he's like doing like some like fucking karate stance and shit. But when he walked his bat down to first base in the World Series after that home run and dropped it, I was like,
he knows.
This dude's a
He's
kid.
got. He knows.
I was like, okay.
Yep.
I was like,
He knows.
right there,
He knows what he's doing.
Flip, it just snap, and I was like, okay, Juan Soto, you are my
biggest.
Like you are my
biggest thing. Yeah, biggest thing I realized about
I saw
him.
them do it. Yeah, so he's like, I was just having fun. I saw them do it, so I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, I love this kid. And he don't take a pitch off.
No, that's what I was about to say. Biggest thing I noticed about him is he is never outside of himself, no matter the moment, as a hitter. Like he does not. Some hitters you'll see it. They'll swing based on pitches they swing at, based on pitches that they miss. Like they just miss, pop up, roll over. He and that was kind of like Barry Bonds. They didn't miss, and he doesn't miss. Like he does not. Juan Soto really doesn't miss in his approach, and I think that's the hardest part about being a hitter, especially at the highest level. Is you get 600 ABs. I'm pretty sure for about 600 of those ABs, Juan Soto was never outside of himself or his approach, and that's kind of what separates hitters and makes them elite. And what separates him is he does it, like you said, with the antics. He'll take a ball and then grab his nuts and look at the pitcher, shake his head. He'll hit a bomb and carry his bat down to first. A lot of players who stay with themselves, they aren't that animated. I think that's kind of what separates Soto. It's pretty impressive, actually. Yeah, really, really impressive.
He's awesome. A lot of fun.
Yeah,
he's special. But before we wrap this up, because I do got a jet. I got some things to do today.
Yeah, me too.
But thoughts on Shohei Ohtani and future of his career for maybe the next 2 to 5 seasons, based on him playing both ways and all that.
Well,
and I'll
tell you one thought. First thought is if he does what he did last year for the next 5 years, I don't know how you don't put him on the first ballot Hall of Fame. A guy that goes out and pitches and then hits like that. I do question the longevity at the highest level to be consistent and do what he did. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe not even next year. Maybe he still got it physically next year, but I wouldn't be surprised if, say, 2 to 3 years from now, one of them starts to suffer, whether it's on the bump or at the plate. He seems to really hit kind of with ease. I mean, he's got natural power where he touches it and it's jumping out. I just think a power arm like that is a lot harder to stay healthy over a course of time and hit. And then there's this word around that he doesn't even take BP. More impressive. So if he is just going through the routines of being a pitcher and then he gets into the lineup every other day and is just hitting bombs, I mean, he might be a baseball guy because that's impressive. If he's not going through any hitter routine, and he's just taking he's just going through a pitcher routine.
So cool.
Every other pitcher in the league should be like, well, we are just worthless because this guy comes and does everything we do, and then he still goes and hits 40 home. My thoughts are it's impressive, and honestly, I hope he can do it for another 5 years. Because who was it? Was it Stephen A? Somebody said something about him being the face of baseball can't be because he's not American or because he's Asian, something like that. I just think people want to stay in this trapped mind frame with things, and if he does what he does, that's undeniable. Separates himself. He would be the face of this game because he did both things. That's a little league player. Think about it. Your best player in little league pitched, threw the hardest, batted third. That's and he's playing the game. He's making the game. Imagine being in little league get to high school, your junior year of high school, and your coach tells you, hey, you got to decide you're a pitcher only now. That kind of goes out the window for some kids who actually have some type of ability to do both, or even in college.
Yeah.
And I think what he does, if he does it for 5 years, it changes some narratives for some athletes who can do both. And that would be kind of good for the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, excuse me, Shohei, if he goes out, because I personally think, I don't know his name.
And he's got, not to cut you off, he's also got one of the coolest nicknames, Showtime.
Yeah. So he has everything going for him. He, I think he's still in his mid-20s, still young. I'd give him 3 years to compete at a high level, maybe 5. But even still, he's going to be the face of baseball. If he rolls out this year, he doesn't even have to do what he did last year. But if he's just in the ballpark offensively, in the ballpark He's the face of baseball because he's going to be must-see TV. People are going to want to watch.
You're going to watch his ABs. You're going to watch him pitch.
What I love about Shohei Ohtani the most is, again, I was a hater in terms of offensively. I thought he couldn't hit off speed, and then he goes out and he just was banging everything. Didn't matter where it was. He was banging it. Inside, up, down, outside, hard, slow, bending, dropping, whatever. Didn't matter. He was banging it. What people don't realize how good this dude is, this dude swipes bags. He almost had like
he's fast, bro. He can run.
He can run.
He had 20. I just looked at. He had 26 bags.
He almost had a 30-30 season, dude. Dude, he's.
I'm sorry.
Coolest player in baseball.
I don't want to cut you off. I forgot. He hit 46 home runs.
46 bombs. Yeah, 46 bombs, 26 stolen bases. He had like a what?
He had 100. He had 100 RBIs. And like almost, he scored 100 runs and 138 hits. Like,
dude. He is, and he plays with edge and a chip. He plays with attitude. He's not soft. He's a competitor. He challenges players. He yells. Like, Shohei Ohtani is the face of it. He's
fun to watch on the mound. He's fun to watch on the mound. He's animated. He has fun. Like, he has fun with hitters. I think Shohei versus Soto is a fun. And he's only turning 24 this year.
That's why, dude. He's still young. I knew it. I thought he was like maybe 26.
Give him 6 years to do what he did last year.
I'm telling you, he's gonna. Now that I know that, I'm giving him to about 30 to pitch consistently with the hitting. Give him a nice stretch, and then he can just go retire and hit jacks for the rest of his career. This dude is going to be, he could be on the Mount. If he stays healthy at that age, he'll be on the Mount Rushmore of baseball. This dude, Shohei Ohtani.
No, that's what I'm saying. So
I became huge because he's being able to watch him more. Huge fan.
Huge fan. He's 6'4", 210. Like he's technically like a physical presence, right? And if for the next 6 years he pitches like he did last year, but even better. Because I watched him. He had some tough outings. Like, you're facing big league hitters. Don't care how hard you throw. Don't care which you throw. Eventually, they're gonna get to you. But if he does dominate on the bump for at least 6 years, and then for the next 7 to 8 years, he hits 30 to 40 home runs, that's undoubtedly the best baseball player that we've seen walking the earth.
You know what he needs to do? He needs to, in the same season, win MVP and Cy Young. That would be.
Yeah, I don't know if they would allow that, but.
I know,
right?
But it's got to be undeniable. It's got to be undeniable.
He's got to go like 10-0 with like 200 Ks, and then he's got to hit like 40 Ks. Yeah, and then he's got to hit like 45 home runs, steal 20 bags.
No earned runs. Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be video game. It's got to be the type of stuff like like when they go to skip camp when we play fucking video games. They got to do stuff like that. But
dude, I'm about to pre-order the show right now just because of that Showtime cover, dude. I just he's the.
That's
man.
Impressive, man.
I gotta go. So let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap. Dying on the hill, bonds belongs in the hall. And that's all I'm saying on that. Leave it at that.
That's right. Yep. Bonds belongs in the hall. Baseball's gonna start on time. And that's it. New music coming out February 11th.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
And be on the lookout. And we'll get another one in soon. And if you don't like baseball, then don't listen to this. And if you do love baseball, share it with all your friends. And if you don't like it, with everyone. I don't care, but that's it.
Yeah.
See ya.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we